Here's a segment from a recent Gun Talk radio episode. You can listen to all the Gun Talk radio podcasts however you tune in, or check out guntalk.com for more. For, decades now, I have alienated some of the folks on our side of the aisle of the gun control movement, if you will. I remember at the Gun Rights Policy Conference some 20 years ago when I got up in front of the group and was speaking, and I said, we got to quit talking about liberals and conservatives. I said, because there are liberals out there who support gun rights. And I went on, detailed it. And after I was done, I had a couple of people in the crowd there at the Gun Rights Policy Conference came up to me and said, Tom, I really appreciate you saying that. I'm liberal. I support guns, but I just don't feel comfortable letting people know my politics around here because they're always talking about those darn liberals. I said, yeah, we cannot afford to throw away support from anybody. Well, somebody who really understands that and actually did something about it joins us right now, Lara Smith from the Liberal Gun Club. Lara, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
You bet. I've been saying this for many years. You cannot throw away support from people who you may not agree with on other issues. And people say, yeah, but what about, they think this, they think that. I go, look, and my answer is always the same. I don't care. I don't care how you are on abortion. I don't care how you are on immigration. I don't care how you are on anything else. If you are supporting gun rights and helping me with that, you are now my friend. And I realize that makes me fairly narrow-minded, but I am laser-focused on it. And I guess the question is, why did you feel the need for there to be a liberal gun club?
Well, a lot of what you talked about, the Liberal Gun Club started because a lot of our members started getting forced out of online and social gun spaces as soon as people found out our politics. And, of course, they get talked about a lot. You've been on the forums. We would get forced out. And so we needed, we joke about being a safe space. But we started so that we had somewhere where we could talk about guns without the distraction. And as we grew, we've become now kind of this all-encompassing organization. We have instruction. We have certified firearms instructors. Grant Cunningham has worked with us and written some great programs and some other trainers. We do politics. You and I have met at Gun Rights Policy Conference and at SHOT Show before. We do all of that now, but that's really how we started because guns are for everyone. And we believe in every single civil right for every single person.
It was 25, maybe close to 30 years ago. I was the first person I'm aware of in the gun world to write about the pink pistols, the LGBTQ community of shooters. And I wrote about that in Guns and Ammo. And internally, I didn't know it at the time, the editors were taking bets of how many readers we would lose over that. And of course, my response is, I don't care.
Yeah.
Because in this case, I would tell them, understand that when it comes to working with the media, it turns it upside down. No longer can they say, those old conservative white guys. And going, wait. We're talking about the LGBT community. And you're doing much the same thing because you're appearing on media a lot of places these days.
And I just, Vice just put up an article this morning, put up a video this morning that had the Liberal Gun Club in it. I did Slate. I did Slate last week about the verdicts, and that I'm going in outlets that other people aren't willing or aren't getting asked to because I'm willing to talk to the readers of those publications and say, hey, guns are normal. Guns are part of our world, and like the Slate interview was really interesting. He's like, well, 50% of gun owners are Republicans. And I said, no, that's not right. I said, if you pull in Democrats and independents, we way outnumber Republican gun owners. If you're just looking at political affiliation,
right?
If you just look at that number, it's a way higher number. And he was really surprised, but it's true. And so to get out there and so a lot of my job is to talk to my liberal friends and to talk to liberals and say, hey, this is a constitutional right too. Let's go talk about it. But I tend to talk about it in a different way. I don't only talk about self-defense. I talk about the fact that it's fun to go to the gun range. I think we do that as the gun world, right? We get so focused on our thoughts about it, especially those of us who do the political side of it, right?
Right.
Because a lot of that is self-defense, and a lot of that is dealing with a different side of it. We forget to talk about that it's fun.
Well,
I love taking my shotgun out and shooting clays, and that's not self-defense. That's fun.
I've always said that is our secret weapon that we don't use nearly enough, the fact that shooting is fun. And I invented the phrase vaccination for gun owners. When you take someone out to the range, and you guys do this very well, when you take someone out to the range that hasn't shot before, and she shoots and she enjoys it, she turns around and has that big smile on her face, you have absolutely vaccinated that person, because no one can ever tell her, well, those gun owners, those shooters are bad people, because she's been there and she's seen it with her own eyes and she's experienced it.
Yeah. And, part of it is you have to build up that trust. It's really important to go out. It's really important to say, hey, maybe I'm not the right person to take you, but I know this person who's more like you. The guy who started Walk the Talk America and I
Mike's
a friend of mine. And Mike and I got to have this really great talk with some people in Nevada when they were working on their red flag law. And we made a big change in what that ended up looking like, because they trusted us. And we said, do you trust us to take you out? And we don't even have to fire the gun. And one of the women had a legitimate reason to be really, truly scared about going to a range, and with her personal background. And I said, you know what? Let me talk to you about this in a one-on-one way, and the way you feel is valid. And I understand that fear. You have a legitimate reason. And other people hadn't said that to her. And so sometimes if you're not the right person, find that right person. It's okay not to be the right person. I'm not the right person for everybody.
Exactly.
Find that right person.
Hey, Lara, let me get you to hold on a second. I need to take a break, but I want to talk about some of the other projects you have going. One of them is the Make It Safe series of videos, which I think is absolutely brilliant. We're talking with Lara Smith from the Liberal Gun Club. If you check out, it's on Facebook, also theliberalgunclub.com. Lara, I mentioned as we went into the break, I took a look at your Make It Safe series of videos. What are those?
So those are videos for non-gun owners or non-shooters to understand how to render a firearm safe. So how to unload and render different kinds of firearms safe. Because there are times where people who don't want to learn to shoot, who have, chosen not to be into firearms, they need to make a gun safe. Their child brought one home. They have a family member in crisis. If you live in certain neighborhoods, you might find one in your yard and you don't want to call the police with a loaded firearm. And so these videos are just the basics of how to do that, because we realized a lot of the fear around firearms is I'm going to hurt myself or someone else unintentionally. And this is to help remove that level of fear.
Well, most of our fears are fears of the unknown. But I'm going to make a suggestion that there might be another use for these videos. And you say it's for people who don't own guns. I'm going to say that actually I would think this might be useful to some people who do own guns, but for instance, don't know how to unload or make safe an AK-47. Don't know how to unload or make safe a double-action revolver. They may think they do, but just looking at it and going, oh, okay, I got it. I understand that. And they're short and they're easy to understand, but I would suggest this may have a wider audience than you're thinking here.
Yeah, I mean, that was how we started them. That was the purpose of them, right, when we started them. But certainly they're for everyone who says, you know what? I've got a friend. I'm going to the range. My friend has a firearm. I don't know. Let me go look at it. Let me go see this because I don't know this. Or I just bought a revolver and I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm going to take a class. This way I know, just the basics.
I'm going to jump on my my preacher mode here right now. And that is simply this. People who are listening to this right now, they're hearing you and they're going, well, she would be fun to go out to the range with. We'd go shoot. Go, yeah, fine, except that sometimes when people go out to the range or in their gun store, they hear discussions about, well, those damn liberals or those freaking blankety blanks, and they're using words that denote, let's see, gay shooters, black shooters, pick a group, any definable group. And what they're doing without thinking about it perhaps is alienating someone who, number one, might be fun to go shoot with. Number two, certainly can be useful in the fight to support the Second Amendment. And then, like you're pointing out in your case, people who, if the media goes and talks to them, they're going to be listened to in a way that perhaps I'm not. Fair enough?
Fair. Yeah,
Well,
it's part of the firearms world. I mean, look at what happened to Chris Chang with the recoil cover, and the pushback recoil got. And I have to say, there was a picture of me, and we were in the issue before that. Recoil does great work, and the more people we can get out in the firearms world who decide, and in my world, it's called othering, making somebody other than you.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Pointing out the other. The more we don't do that, and the more we are shooters, we are gun owners, instead of, oh, well, but they are.
That's
whatever.
right. Well, this is that whole those people thing.
Yes.
That is kind of a human condition, and people have done that for centuries, those people. But it is a way, as you say, of setting someone up as the other, and that has always been necessary before you can do horrible things to a section of the population. You have to set up those people as the other or less than or whatever, and then it's just what we do as humans, and it's one of the unfortunate parts. Then it sets up the stage to be able to do things. Question for you. When you're talking to people about the liberal gun club, it's like when I was surprised to find out there was a Microsoft gun club. When you're talking to liberals, what do they say about the gun community?
So the stereotype of the gun community is the conservative, white, Christian male and maybe his wife. But not... There's a big surprise of you own guns, really. And what I get a lot, I'll tell you, the talk I have most is safety. That's the talk I have. How? Because I have a 13-year-old. How are you keeping your gun safe? How are you a safe firearms owner? And I talk about that a lot. And I talk about safety and safes and gun locks and what it means to go to the range and how do I transport my firearms and what's my kid allowed access to. And that's the conversation. That's the thing most people are curious about. They're not as curious about how do I fire a firearm. It's how do you own them and stay safe. And I find that fascinating.
That is the concern, and it is the number one question. Even if it's not asked, it is the question in the minds of anyone who, if you say, I'm going to invite somebody to the range, the first thing you have to say is it's going to be safe. We're not going to do anything that makes you uncomfortable, and you can speak up at any time. Lara, we're about out of time here. I'm just going to ask you to tell people how they can find out more about your organization.
Come check out our webpage at theliberalgunclub.com. We have a blog. It's under original content. You can see our positions there. You can look me up. I'm on Facebook. The club's on Facebook. Feel free to interact. Feel free to send us messages. Facebook Messenger is a great way to get us.
Do you have to be liberal to join?
You do not. We have everything from dyed-in-the-wool hard conservatives to anarchists. I mean, truly, we're a club for everyone.
I love it. Lara, thank you so much, and thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you for having me on, Tom. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime.